The days of Jameis Winston being on the Saints could be over, and in my opinion, seem to be over. And if that's the case, they're going to need a new backup. Who would that backup be to Derek Carr? Let's discuss right here on the Straight Up Saints podcast.
You're listening to the Straight Up Saints podcast.
What is up, Who Dat Nation? Welcome back inside another edition of the Straight Up Saints podcast. I'm your host, Chris Vogel, and as always, we're brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook and Scott Fickner Injury Lawyers. And this is an interesting topic. I think it's one that is starting to get a little bit more traction as we get closer to the full offseason. I know, obviously, the Saints have been in the offseason for about a month now, but it never really feels full until the Super Bowl's over and everyone's in the offseason, and we're a day away from that happening. So I think for the Saints, it's worth getting into this backup quarterback position and talking about it because there's an interesting decision that has to be made, or lack of a decision, and that comes down to Jameis Winston. So let's start off with the basics. We know Derek Carr is the starter next year. They are not only committed financially, they feel like he could be the guy. Now, you can have whatever opinion you want on that, that's fine, but that's the fact of the matter is he will be the Saints starting quarterback. There's nothing that's going to change that. Now, there is also Jake Haener on the roster. He'll be in his second year out of Fresno State. Where's he at in his development? I know there's some whispers right now going around and some reports about him developing well and the Saints being high on him. And that could be the case, but you never really know until training camp starts, until the preseason games roll around to kind of see how a team actually feels about a young quarterback. So we'll get to that later. Jameis Winston here is the kind of X factor in the quarterback room because he is going to hit free agency. And judging off a recent interview he did on Part of My Take, it seemed like he's very much open to leaving the Saints because he wants an opportunity to start again, which is obviously understandable, and he's not going to get that in New Orleans. Now, it's not official yet. There's no one coming out saying Jameis Winston's gone, but I want us to just be a little realistic here and go through the facts. Jameis wants to start again. Him and Dennis Allen, they can say whatever they want. It's not the best relationship between the way things went down in 2022 and then how 2023 just finished with the whole Falcons incident. It's not the best working relationship. And I think for the Saints, they're more than willing to kind of let him walk at this point, bring a different quarterback in, kind of make a change to their quarterback room and go from there. And I think if you're Jameis, if there's a better opportunity out there where you feel like you have a legit shot to start, that makes more sense. So just off that, I feel like it's a safe bet to say that Jameis Winston won't be back. Look, crazier things have happened. Things can change. That's just my opinion at the moment. So I'm anticipating that he'll be gone. And if he is gone, look, there is absolutely a chance that Jake Haener slides into that number 2 role. He's the backup for the Saints. And you go with Carr and Haener as your 1 and 2, and you kind of go from there. That is totally possible. It's a scenario that's in play. But I also think there's other options, whether it's going through the draft, whether it's through free agency. There's one in particular that I think makes sense for the Saints at free agency. I'll talk about him in a brief moment. But in terms of the draft, I think this comes down to, is there a quarterback you like? Is there a guy that maybe Clint Kubiak likes and his staff feels like he makes a lot of sense for our system? Those are things I would look at if I'm a Saints fan and I'm curious as to what happens in the quarterback room because, look, I don't expect them to take a quarterback in the first round, maybe not even the second round, but you never know. I mean, teams make crazy moves before. If they went with a quarterback in the draft, wouldn't completely surprise me. So we'll see what happens in that regard. But I think the more likely scenario could be free agency for the Saints.
Looking for a super offer for Super Bowl 58? DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered. New customers can bet on the big game and turn $5 into $200 instantly in bonus bets. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code BOOT. New customers can bet $5 to get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 58 with code BOOT. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 21 or older in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/basketball terms.
So if the Saints do go through free agency and they decide, you know what, we want a veteran quarterback to kind of add to our roster, just to give us some insurance, right? Just in case Derek Carr goes down or just in case Jake Haener isn't, developing the way they thought he would. I think the quarterback that makes a lot of sense for the Saints has to be Brandon Allen. Now, Brandon Allen's currently the 3rd string on the Niners. You haven't seen him this year, and that's what you want. You never want to have to see your 3rd string quarterback. I think he makes a lot of sense for the Saints for a variety of reasons. Let's start off with the first one. He is currently on San Francisco's roster. He's been there from the start of the season. So who has he been with? He's been with Clint Kubiak, the pass game specialist for the 49ers. So there is familiarity there. And it would be easy to kind of bring a quarterback with Kubiak, who you know isn't going to threaten for the job, but can help people move along in terms of learning the playbook and kind of getting acclimated to the system. He can do that. And maybe Brandon Allen, in a way, can help, whether it's Haener, whether they draft a young quarterback, to kind of help them get acclimated. And obviously could help out Derek Carr if Derek Carr needs a little bit of assistance as he goes through the playbook. So I think the familiarity with Clint Kubiak makes Brandon Allen a very intriguing fit in terms of that makes sense. That seems like an insurance option to add to your quarterback room. The second reason I think he makes a lot of sense, and I think this matters when you're looking at a team like the Saints, he's not going to cost anything. He's maybe going to cost you $1 million. And look, I know that people will bring up different quarterback names for backups that are maybe flashier, a Jacoby Brissett, maybe even another guy for the Niners and Sam Darnold. I'm sure those are flashier names, right? But I don't know if the Saints right now, with the way they're currently constructed, should be big players in the backup quarterback market. I don't think they're that type of team at the moment. They got a lot of money tied into Derek Carr. They don't have a ton of cap space, obviously. And when they make all the moves to, maneuver that cap figure, they won't have that much to spend anyway. I don't know if it should be getting thrown towards a backup. So I think the familiarity with Clint Kubiak, the fact that he's not going to cost a lot, that helps. The fact that he's a vet who has experience. He was a spot starter in Cincinnati where he had over 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns, and 6 picks the year that Joe Burrow tore his ACLs, where he got most of his run. I think that part helps too. So it's not like you're bringing in a guy who can't play football. Obviously, we've seen, is he a high-end guy? No, absolutely not. But he has some experience. He knows the system. He's not going to cost a lot. This is the type of move that, when it gets made, if it were to get made, we're not going to sit here and start singing this player's praises, saying the Saints made the underrated signing of the offseason. No, but it's things like this. You got to start connecting the dots. When you have a new coach, you could be losing your backup. Stuff like this makes sense for the Saints. So if Jameis Winston's gone, and in my opinion, I think he will be gone, Brandon Allen's a name that I would look at for the Saints if you're trying to find who will be that next backup quarterback or that vet that they bring in to go with Carr and Haener. Because I can't see them leaving the QB room the way it is, but I also don't anticipate them to make a splash move. I don't think they're going to be a big player in free agency, especially at the quarterback position, nor should they with the resources that they've kind of diverted to that position. And then when it comes to the draft, because they are in win now mode, I don't think they're going to go quarterback. They could shock the hell out of me and do so, but I don't expect it. So Brandon Allen would be a name that I'm looking at if you're a Saints fan trying to figure out who can you add to the quarterback room that isn't going to kind of break my wallet, but also help out in terms of IQ. And I think Brandon Allen would do just that. But let me know below, if Jameis Winston's gone, who is a realistic option you want as the backup quarterback for the Saints? Put in the comment section, and I'll get back to you. And as always, guys, subscribe to Vucru Media's YouTube page for more content from the Straight Up Saints podcast, the destination for the Who Dat Nation.